Hi, it's Kim from the Shamrock Quilt Studio, and one of the most popular videos we've had on our channel is how to load a Grace EZ3 frame. And we're at the point with our Miss Karen project that we're ready to put this on the frame to quilt. This is a hand quilting frame. So I thought I would bring you in while I'm doing this. We're kind of cramped in here, but we're going to see what we can do as far as showing a lot of the details about how that's done and kind of quickly go over it with you. So join us and we will get it loaded. Okay, so this is a Grace EZ3 frame, and it is currently in the smaller size. There is a shorter set of bars, but the frame really cannot accommodate anything much smaller than this, which is disappointing. I'd really like to see a wide range of sizes for this, but that's the way it was made. Now, these use aluminum bars, and there's 3 of them. And then you need to use usually a leader on this. And these you can buy from them. I think I just saw them on the website not too long ago. Or you can make them. And there's instructions in the booklet that goes with this as far as how big they need to be. Now, the frame is set up right now to be 54 inches across. So these pieces are right about 54 inches. And they're different sizes depending on the location. The one in the back is much longer. The one in the middle is a middle size, and the one in the front is pretty short. And the ones you buy have some kind of grid or markings on them. And you could do that with the ones you make. I just haven't done it yet. And then there's a little tool that you use, and here it is. I think you can still buy this. You could also probably get away with using a screen tool that you use to replace the screens in your windows. That would probably get you the basic needs covered. So you're going to find the center of your bar, and you're going to find the center of your leader, and that's where you're going to start. And there's a channel in this aluminum rod, and then you use a little tubing. And now I had to buy extra tubing to make the second set of leaders. And I used aquarium tubing, air tubing for an aquarium. And that seems to work just fine. And then you're going to just use this little tool to set those tubes into the channel. And then we're going to go the other way. Okay, that's all in, and I'm going to just tuck the end in here. I made mine about an inch shorter than it could be, just so I can adjust it pretty easily. And then I'm going to match up the centers on all of these. Oops, this one's twisted. And I'll tell you one thing, one of the complaints I have about this is it's kind of wobbly. And I don't know if it's picking it up on camera or not, but it's noisy too when it wobbles. Let's just check and make sure we've tightened it. That's a little bit better. Okay. You'll just want to tug on them to make sure they're in place and they're not going to come loose. Now, the tricky thing I think with the Grace frames is there's a particular order that you need to put them on to make it work. And I'm going to grab some pins. And the first thing we're going to put on is our backing fabric. Now for me, my backing fabric is white, and it's a white front and back, so it's not going to really matter which way it goes on or whether it's facing up or facing down. But if you're using a fabric that is not the same on both sides, or it has a directional print to it, you'll need to pay attention to that. So this is going to go on to the center leader. I really need a place to put this, but we're just going to keep moving. So I am going to put me some pins there, and I'm going to take just a minute and quickly determine the center. And then I'm going to pin that on the center mark of my leader. And this is one of the things that I find that's kind of frustrating to do, because you've got to get it straight or it's not going to work. And it can be a handful. To do. Okay, there's half of it. And I'm pinning it up about a ½ inch from the bottom. Now I cut this backing just a little bit bigger than our quilt top. Now I've got 5 pins in there. I'm going to put a couple more because I want it to be nice and straight, and I don't want it to have any pulls or gaps or anything like that. See how we have that right there? That's going to be a problem. So the question is why, and it's because I didn't pin it at the right spot. One more. And I think that one's a little bit off. That one's not quite straight. All right. Okay, so we've got that one on there, and I'm telling you right now, I don't know whether I've lined this up to go horizontally or vertically. For this size, it's not going to matter. But if you had a much bigger quilt and it was closer to the size the frame was set up for, you would want to keep that in mind. All right. Now, I'm going to check my instructions again because I always get this wrong. But what we're going to do is we're going to roll this up. Again, it's kind of loud. And I do like to make sure that it's nicely smooth. Those pins will scratch you. Okay, so we've got this on this one, and it does look like it's lining up really nicely. And the way you can tell that is that it's a nice smooth, even edge here. It doesn't wind out or wind under. So we've got this here, and the next thing we're going to want to do is measure to find the center. I rolled it just a little bit too much. But we're going to want to do the same thing here. Just to find that center. And we're going to pin down there. And we're going to find the center of this and the center of this. And again, we're going to come in right at about 1/2 inch. All right, and then we're going to just move from the center out and pin our pieces. Now the nice thing about the way I've got this one set up is that I've left a selvage edge on this end, so I can pin that leader right to the top of that selvage, and I know it's even because the leader also has its selvage on it. Okay, let me grab a couple more pins and we'll go the other way. Okay, and we're going to pull it snug, and we're going to see how it fits. I think we need to change our spacing on our pins a little bit. And we add one more. All right, so now we've got our backing on our frame. Let's make sure that we get all the way to the end, even if that means another pin. Now, I want to tell you that when you see this video, you're probably going to see some sped up footage because it's an easy process, but sometimes it takes a lot of readjusting to make sure that it's done correctly. And given my most recent experience with using this, if you don't get it right on here, you are going to have a challenge to get it done properly. So we've got this on, and now let's move on to our next phase. Okay, we're back. Now, the way the instructions say to load this is you load the top of the quilt and the batting to the back of this, then roll it up and then secure it to the front. Now, the problem that I have always encountered with that is that it gets all wonky, and it tends to get kind of wonky when it's as big as the frame because you don't have a lot of room to play. We've got a pretty small quilt here, so I'm not sure we're going to have the same problem. And my batting is much longer than my project. So I've got a good 2 inches here on one end, and I've got a bunch here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load it this way. And I'm going to locate the center here, and I'm going to pin it to the center. I've got both marked, and I'm going to pin it up probably about 1 inch because we've got lots of room. We'll probably never get to this area. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take just a minute and I'm going to mark it. Okay, I took just a minute and marked this leader for the back rail at 1 inch, so it'd just be easier to be able to get it on here straight. And I put some pins in my shirt, and I'm counting on you to remind me they're here. So I'm going to take the center of my batting and match it up with the center line here at 1 inch. And then I'm just going to go over about I'd say about every 3 inches and put a pin in. Okay, I got some more pins, and we're going to do the same thing, about every 3 inches. And you do want to make sure you're only getting that layer of the leader. I always find that this side is harder for me because I can't, for some reason I just can't quite grab a hold of it and keep it straight. And I think it's because my hand gets in the way. But we're almost there. And I don't think this particular edge of the batting is super straight. Okay, little tip for you. Make sure your pins line up this way, because if you get them at an angle or you line them this way, when they roll, they're going to poke through your fabric. Okay, so we've got that one on there. And we're just going to start rolling it. Now this one, I only have a temporary pin in. I'm going to put in a couple more. I'm not going to put in a whole bunch. I think I'm going to put one at the ends. And then maybe 2 more. This one, personally, I want to give a little room to flex if it needs to. And then I'm going to allow it to roll with just a very slight amount of tension on it. And I may even have to hold it up a bit. And we've got something going on there. Let's see what's going on. We've got a wrinkle in our batting. And you can tell that because it's not nice and smooth anymore. It's got a lump. So we're going to take this one out. And see, there's that wrinkle in the batting. So we're going to slowly what I want to do is try to keep that batting stiff and in place. Pull on it to get that out. Now, the challenging part with batting is like Velcro. Any fabric that sticks to it, any threads, it's like it grabs it and it won't let go. And that's why sometimes you have problems with this. That's looking better now, and it's going on there smoothly. And it looks like we're in good shape as far as the batting being wide enough. It is really close. But I think, as I recall, we are using a scrap of batting, something that was left over to do this. So that's kind of to be expected. Okay, so we're going to pull that almost up, and then we're going to tighten this one. And these little gizmos here will allow you to click it into place and it not come out of where you've left it. So we can tighten this one up. See, we've got a good little bit of tension on this now. We don't want too much because just the pins are holding it. And then we've got this. So what we can do now is, this is nice and smooth. It's matched up with the batting. This is matched up here. Now, the only thing I'm a little concerned about is how long is that backing. So I'm going to loosen this and pull these pieces a little closer. So that, see, now our batting almost lines up where we pinned. And I'm even going to bring it just a little bit closer. Get that all smoothed out. So now we're in pretty good shape. Everything is lined up. And I'm going to pin this again. I'm going to pin it a line here on the batting only, and then one line of pins on both pieces. That may not be necessary, but I think it will help us keep this really nice and straight and secure. And we're going to be quilting this section first, and then we will probably come back and do the outer section because I have not finalized what that's going to be. You can always add quilting later. I've had some that I've finished and washed and decided to add quilting at a later time. Okay, we've got two, and then there's a third one. That's a little short pin there. Let's get one more. Okay, so it's on the frame. And as we roll this one, this will catch it each time it clicks into another one. And you would just take the brakes off here so that that would allow it to spin. And as it spins, it's going to hook all 3 layers, the backing, the batting, and the top together, and you quilt. And we'll just roll it down as we go. Now, if you saw the other video, I can tell you right now, this one looks a whole lot easier. And I would say to you that both videos are correct. Sometimes you get a really large quilt and it is a pain in the backside to get it on. And that was the problem we had with the other. And then sometimes you'll have a smaller quilt and it goes on with no problem at all. And we should be able to quilt this and just breeze through it. It's kind of a toss of which situation you're going to have, whether everything lines up just right as far as the size goes, or if you're having to wing it, or if you don't really know if your sizes match or not. So just be patient with it. I have had some that I've had to take off and put back on because they didn't match up right, or the batting twisted, or it wasn't the right size, just all kinds of problems. But this one is now on the frame and we can start quilting. Couple of points I want to point out to you before we go. First of all, we didn't load this exactly the way the instructions tell you, because they tell you to flip these 2 back pieces over backwards, pin it on that leader, and then roll it up, and then pull it forward. This is a small quilt, and we were able to do it without it. If you had a really large quilt, you may need to do that. Or if you want to go strictly by the instructions. The other thing is, I like my quilts to be pretty snug on this. Much snugger than the experts would advise you to do, because I use a modified stab stitch for my quilting. And if you're using a rocking stitch, you're going to need it looser. You're going to need more play in here. And going from more play to less play is really easy to do with the little adjustments in the rollers. Also, this quilt top has already been marked. I don't know if you can see from the distance, but we put that cross hatch on it in our last show. And we are in the time of the year that we have a lot of rain. So if it's going to sit here a long time, you may lose those marks. And I can already tell you, they're beginning to fade a little bit, but we had folded it over and that did help. To be able to have this one sit here a while, for 2 reasons, both the humidity making the marks go away and the fact that we're sitting right in a window. This window doesn't get bright, direct sunlight, but if it did, it would be even bigger problem. You're going to need to cover this up when you're not working on it to keep the moisture away from it, and also to keep the bright sunlight from coming in and fading it. So that's just a quick look at how to load this on the frame. Today, I think it went really smoothly and we got it on here pretty quickly, but as you have seen from the other videos, you may not always have that experience. So just be patient. You may have to walk away from it and come back. That's about it for loading the quilt. I hope you found this helpful in seeing how it was done. If you would, give us a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you next week at the Shamrock Quilt Studio, and we'll get started on the quilting. See you there.